Hey, what's up guys? Tyler here with Secure Team, and in today's strangeness happening around the world, I want to start off with a discovery off the coast of Antarctica on a small stretch of icy mountains separated from the continent and surrounded by the frigid waters, where it almost appears as if something has crash landed down on the snowy surface below. So what we've discovered here is located, again, in a little island chain known as South Georgia and the South Sandwich Islands. And as you can see here, it is located right at the northern tip of Antarctica and just southeast of Brazil. And before we get started here, this island here, which is basically just a piece of Antarctica that it seems floated away potentially millions of years ago due to tectonic movements, is the exact same surface structure as Antarctica. Mountainous, covered in ice and snow, nothing there, completely barren. That was until we discovered this, and what appears to me at least to be some sort of massive, elongated, or cigar-shaped object that at some point, and we don't know when, came to a screeching halt in the snow, leaving behind it almost a 1,000-meter-long trail. And what's even more interesting, and we'll get to this object in a minute, is what the trail leads to. So here we are on Google Earth, and it looks as if this imagery was taken back in 2011. So we can see that this massive object is directly next to this huge mountain peak here. And you'll notice that leading back from the trail that this object created, moving across the snow and ice, it appears as if there's some damage that has been done to the side of this mountain, where we can see this wave of debris extending outwards from the mountain itself, with the main object and trail coming out of it, smashing its way in a very sharp trail. That's another thing about this path that this object has carved out. It's very sharp, and it doesn't look like your typical trail made by a snowball or, just a piece of ice tumbling and rolling across the hillside. This trail here is extremely sharp and almost looks like it was created by something artificial, something flat, almost as you would think if something had wheels on it, or I guess you would think of a bobsled where it has the metal sled bars on either side. And that's exactly what we're seeing here, but this object is definitely not a vehicle with wheels or any kind of bobsled, because we've measured it, and the object itself comes to around 63 meters in length from end to end. And so back to this area of mountain here that some have said looks as if this object came down from the sky and hit it, actually breaking away parts of the mountain as seen from this debris field, as if it's been ejected outwards, taking this massive chunk out of the side of it, and the ejecta spreading outwards and curving to either side, with the normal rocks and pieces of ice and mountain stopping all around the same distance from one another. The only thing that actually went further is this mysterious object, because it apparently had the force needed to continue on this trail of over 1,000 meters before finally skidding to a halt. And so let's go back to this object here, and I'm going to show you a zoomed in shot of this trail, just so you guys can see how clear and cut and precise it is. And as you're seeing this, to this day, even with a lot of this snow being blown over it, the trail is completely visible for the most part. Two clear-cut, razor-sharp lines leading up to this mystery cigar-shaped object here that obviously looks as if it's been also covered in snow and ice over, who knows, days, months, even years, depending on when this satellite imagery was taken. And so we can see on top of it, we have a lot of rigid and sharp ends, also casting shadows over to the side. Even the shadows themselves at their longest, specifically this one at the end, measure around 12 meters long, which gives us sort of an idea of how tall this object is. We already know how long it is. Now, the width between these two tracks here comes out to around 9 meters, giving us a further idea of the width of this object. So 9 or 10 meters across and almost 70 meters long, with a trail left behind it of around 1,000 meters leading back to this broken mountain here. And again, guys, We've got a lot of theories as to what this could be. Something that came from the air and crash landed, or something that actually came from the mountain itself, or something that was buried potentially below or in the mountain for who knows how long, that decided to break free, making its way across the snowy plain here before coming to a stop for whatever reason. We don't know if it even did come to a stop, because again, this is just a single snapshot taken by a satellite orbiting the Earth, so we don't have multiple shots after this as to how far the object went, whether it was actually stopped in its tracks, or whether it was in the middle of moving as the satellite image was taken. But one thing's for sure, I don't see any other tracks or anything that would lead me to believe that this area has been visited by mankind. I don't see any installations anywhere. The shape of this thing and the sheer distance of just how far this thing moved leads me to believe this is not a piece of the mountain or a chunk of ice, because as we see back at the area where it looks as if the mountain has been broken, potentially by this object itself, we see that most of the ejecta has been blown out and reaches its final resting point maybe 20 meters out from the mountain, while this other object goes nearly 1,000 meters. So it's a big mystery. And, it almost reminds me of a submarine or something like that. And so that's another question. Could it be a submarine that got stuck in the ice? But then again, why would a submarine be on land? Underneath the ice, it's mountainous, it's frozen. I don't see any reason for a submarine. And again, would a submarine create such an explosion in the side of this mountain? And I guess that's the question I want to ask you guys today. So, what is this anomalous object in the middle of nowhere, depicting almost what looks like a crash landing, clipping the side of this mountain? I will put the coordinates to it down below, and you can feel free to head over and check it out yourselves.